Hey, how's it going? So today we are going to be making a recipe from this amazing book. We're actually going to be making the country loaf that is on the cover of this book. It is one of my favorite bread recipes ever. It does take a little bit of work, but it is well worth it. This is by a guy named Chad Robertson, and he has a restaurant in San Francisco. The recipe is like a novel. It's long. And this does take all day, but most of the time you're just going to be waiting. So I got my starter fed last night, and so we are ready to rock and roll. Okay, so what you're going to need, but you're going to need a scale because we're going to weigh all the ingredients out. You're going to need water. This is 80-degree water, but if you don't have a thermometer, I would just suggest, test it with your finger, and it should be a little bit warmer than kind of room temperature. We have our levain, which is our fed starter from last night, which is ready to go. We have a big bowl, which we're going to be, the coffee said it's done. So we have a big bowl, which we'll, if the British baking show fans will recognize this bowl. I love this thing. I actually got it from a thrift store, a local thrift store. They had it and it was cheap and I love it. You're going to need something this is a bowl scraper. So this is like a plastic one. And then you're going to need your, I don't know what the name of this, I think it's Robertson, but it's a little basket, and this is what you let your dough rise in. So you'll need something along these lines. They come in different shapes. This is a round one. And you will need salt, which you don't add at first. We'll add this on our first turn. So the first step of this is we're going to get, I guess I forgot, you're also going to need some white and wheat flour. So let's get to measuring this out. So we'll zero it out. So here's our starter. You can see nice and bubbly. So we start with the starter. We're gonna add 100 grams. I'm gonna take a little bit out so that we reach 100. 101. 100. Oh, 99. 100. Cool. Then, oh man, 0. And then we're going to add our 80-degree water, and we're going to be adding 350 grams. This is for one loaf. Haha! And then we'll just mix this up a tiny bit. As the scale is freaking out. Okay, and then we'll zero it again, and we're going to add 450 grams of white bread flour. Whoa. And then 50 grams of our wheat flour. $500. That's where we want it to be. I have this handy dandy whisk for doing the first part of this mixing so I don't get my hands completely dirty. Okay, so we got this mixed up. I'm gonna just use my bowl scraper to kind of scrape down the extra flour. And at this stage, it's going to look, you know, a little bit dry, I suppose. But as we let it rest, it's going to hydrate all the flour. And then we will do a series of 4 turns every half an hour. But this first part, we're just gonna let it rest. I'm going to put a towel over it and let it hang out in the oven with the light on. Okay, so we've let the dough rest in the oven with the light on for 40 minutes. Here's what we've got. So it's hydrated a little bit. And so now we're going to add in our salt with a little bit of water. So this is 25 grams of warm water. And let's see here. So we'll get our scale out again. Zero this out. So that should be 25. Okay, it's 26. That's okay. Close enough. So we just want 10 grams of salt. Can I read it backwards through the camera? 10. So we'll just add that. And then we're gonna use our clean hands and mix it in through here. And you'll start to see it kind of pull apart and look wrong, but then it will quickly start to pull together and become super wet. And then we're gonna let it hang out again in the oven. So let's add our salt and water mixture. Then at this point, I'll get my scraper and kind of you can start to feel it change when that water is kind of fully incorporated. One thing that is important with all of this is to be patient, because it's not always the same. Like I noticed this time it kind of like took a while to get the water and salt incorporated, and that's okay. It's cold in my house right now, you know, it's humid out. Maybe that's affecting, you know, why it's a little bit different today than other times that I've made it. But this is looking great. Perfect. So the next part of the process is called the bulk fermentation. For the first 2 hours of the 4-hour bulk fermentation process, the first 2 hours, every half an hour, we're going to come and do what's called a turn, which essentially is just stretching out the dough. And so I'll show you how I do that next. So that'll be in half an hour. First 30 minutes are up. Okay, so we're gonna do our first turn. I'm gonna get my hands wet so that the dough doesn't stick as bad, and then I'll show you kind of how I do it. So you kind of put your fingers down underneath it, and you're gonna pull up slowly like that. Then you're gonna lay it kind of back on itself. And then I'm going to turn it, and then we're going to do the same thing again. Pull it up, and then kind of let it go back onto itself. Didn't get a ton on my hands because I wet my hands before. And then I'm just gonna use my bowl scraper again. And I try to scrape it so that I have less like dry, caked on flour bits around the side of my bowl, which become really annoying to clean. So now we're gonna cover it up, put it back into the oven with the light on for another 30 minutes. Okay, it's time for our second turn. Ooh, totally looks different. I'm gonna get my hands wet again, and we're gonna do the same thing. So, and it feels totally different this time. Okay, and then we're going to lay it down on top of itself and turn it and do the same thing. You can feel it'll be kind of slack on the first time, and then the second time less so. Oop. That looks awesome. Okay, put it back into the oven with the light on for another half an hour. Also, it's on this second turn that a lot of times you will fold in any, like if you wanted to make an olive loaf, you would fold in your olives on the second turn. So it just depends, but we're just making a plain version today. Okay, time for our third turn. So this would be at the 1.5-hour mark. Same thing, wet my hands, and then we'll do it. At this stage, you want to start doing your turn a little more gently. So here we go. It's crazy how it's completely changed since the first time we did it. So we want to do it a little more gently so we're not knocking out the air that has been produced by the yeast. Okay, that's it. In for one more half hour, and then we'll do one last turn. Okay, so we're at the 2-hour mark, and we are going to do our last turn, our fourth turn. Looking good. We'll water my hands. You want to be gentle. Okay, one, and we'll do it one more time. Like that. So we're gonna cover it and put it back in the oven with the light on for another 2 hours. Okay, so our bulk fermentation process is done. You can't really tell, but it has bulked up about 20 to 30%, which is what you want. It's been about 4 hours. So now we're going to take our bowl scraper and we're going to turn out the dough onto the surface. It's just lightly floured. You don't really want to be incorporating a whole lot of flour at this stage. So we're going to put it out. We're going to do what's called a pre-shaping, and we'll let it rest before we do the final shaping. Okay, so we're going to turn it out. see if I can do it this way. I'm just gonna do some light folding, and I'll use this to help me along. I'm gonna kind of fold it onto itself like that. It's really just a couple of quick movements. You can see how kind of jiggly it is. And that's it. And so now we're going to let it sit like this. This is called a bench rest. I'll put a little flour on it. What I like to do is I just take my bowl and then I just cover it up. So we're gonna let it rest just like this for about 20 to 30 minutes before we do our final shaping, and we put it into the basket for the second rise, which will take about 3 to 4 hours, and then we'll bake it. Okay. We have done the bench rest, and now we are going to do the final shaping and then put it into our basket for the last rise. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, that looks great. So I'm just gonna lightly flour. Actually, I'm gonna flour my, my basket. I already have this cloth in here, and I have quite a bit of flour, too much flour in there right now. I'm just gonna put that aside. But you want enough because you definitely don't want this to stick. So I've made that mistake before and it's not fun because it'll kind of ruin the top of your bread. You want to be able to get this thing out for sure. And it's gonna sit in here for 3 to 4 hours to rise. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, now for this part, what you wanna do is flour the top, and this will become more like second nature as you do it more times. You wanna lightly flour the top, just like that. And then we're going to flip it upside down and we're gonna do a series of folds. So first we will flip this upside down. So you got the like exposed side now on the top, as you can see. And then the first fold is going to be folding it just into a third. And then we're going to take the other part and fold it like that. Then the sides over, and then this side over. So you're making kind of a little pocket. Okay, then we flip it over. Then we flip it over, and now we're just going to do some shaping using our bench scraper. And that's pretty much it. So now this seems counterintuitive if you haven't done it before, but we want this top part, the mounded part, is gonna go into the bottom of our basket. So this top part will now become the bottom of our basket. So we'll kind of flip it like this. Okay. So then I'll kind of lift it in and put it down gently. And if you want, you can, kind of stitch up any areas where it's kind of come apart, but essentially that's it. So now we're gonna let it rise for another 3 to 4 hours. And you definitely don't want to, You definitely don't want to rush that part of it, okay? So we will put a little bit of flour on the surface just to help it not, you know, create like a skin. And then we will use our handy dandy towel, cover it up, and put it in the oven with the light on, just like we've been doing this whole time. Okay, so our dough has fully risen. Looks great. If I poke my finger in it, it's called the poke test. It does not bounce back. So we are good to go. So I have my oven preheating with the cast iron Dutch oven in it at 500 degrees. And then we're going to bake this off and I'll show you how I do it. Okay, so we're gonna turn out our dough onto this parchment paper and then we'll use this to lift our dough and put it in the Dutch oven. And I don't have one of those fancy scoring tools. I just have this serrated knife and this works really well for me, actually. Okay, so let's pour it out. Ruh-roh. It's stuck. No. Oh, we're okay. It's just got a little dongle here. A belly button, if you will. Okay, we're gonna score it. 1, 2. This will help it rise correctly. My very amateurish technique. So we got our preheated cast iron and I'm just going to, actually I don't need this. I'm just going to take our dough and plop it in just like that. And before we put the lid on, we're going to spray it with some water liberally, and then put the lid on just like that.
Oh, I wasn't recording. I'm just kidding.
Oh my God.
Oh, they got your face on the camera.
So now we want to, after we put it in the oven, we want to turn down the heat to about 450. It was on 500, but now we're gonna turn it down. So bake 450. And it'll go at 450 for about 25 minutes. And then we'll take the lid off and we will cook it for another about 20 minutes. So about 45 minutes total. Okay, so it's been 25 minutes. Let's check our bread. Ooh, steam. What do we got? Woohoo! That looks amazing. Yay! Okay, so it's gonna go back in for another 20 minutes. Okay, our bread is done. Let's see what it looks like. Oh man. Gorgeous! So our bread is done. Looks amazing. I'm gonna cut into it and show you the inside. Beautiful, beautiful bread. It smells so good. So I'm just gonna try this plain. So good. It's like the bakery. better than the bakery. Man, one of my favorite ways to eat this is I toast it up, and I'll do like a fried sunny side up egg. Egg on this is so delicious. I hope that this is slightly less intimidating for you. If you've never made bread before, it can be a little bit intimidating, but I hope that this kind of made it a little bit more approachable for you. And I hope that you will give it a shot, because it is amazing. And all of your family and friends will be super impressed that you've been able to make bread that looks like this. It's impressive. So thanks for watching. I hope that you will give this recipe a try and let me know what you think. And I have a link to the book, which I highly recommend checking out in the description. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day.